In the last part, our protagonist excitedly asked the old man to make him his disciple. If you haven't watched the previous video yet, check it out fast. The link's in the description. Now on to the next part. Kwok didn't hesitate. Grabbing the old man's hand, he said, "Yes, I'm eager to learn." His mind flashed back to Kyung, the one who had defeated him, and his eyes filled with determination. He wasn't going to lose again. Not this time. The training began, but for the first 3 months, Kwok found himself repeating basic exercises that felt eerily similar to the ones he had endured at the Warrior Dragon Academy. The master explained that this was inevitable. Kwok's body had been in bad shape when he started, and he needed to rebuild his strength. Every day, he carried 4 cauldron lids around town, with the locals either encouraging him or mocking him, saying he looked ridiculous with those lids. Kwok, however, pushed through. His past struggles with basic training had actually helped prepare him for this intense regimen. As the months passed, he felt his internal energy growing, his dantian no longer empty. After that, he finally moved on to learning the true fundamentals of Gwageman. The master even told him stories of how great martial artists like Kwon Mangun had trained here for a time, and how they were coveted talents. A year passed in this way, and one day, Abo approached the old man, saying it was time for him to go home. The master nodded, handed him his monthly salary, and told him not to drop it. "Take it home and give it to your mother," the old man instructed, a small smile on his face. As Abo left, Kwok watched him go, feeling both the weight of his own journey and the bond he had started to form with these unlikely companions. Cauldron lids or not, maybe this place is what I needed after all. Abo, overjoyed, accepted his monthly pay with a broad grin, practically skipping off. Kwok, watching, raised an eyebrow and asked the old man, "Where's he going?" The old man, amused, replied, "On days without training, Abo heads home." "Didn't you know?" Kwok blinked, surprised. "He doesn't live here?" The old man laughed. "Nope. If you walk a little ways from here, you'll find the slums. That's where Abo's older brother lives." He then asked, "You've never been there, have you?" Kwok thought back to all the times Abo called him little bro in their bickering sessions. He had always wondered if Abo was just confused. "He always calls me his younger brother. I've told him to stop," Kwok muttered. The old man chuckled. "Abo probably doesn't mean any harm by it." Kwok sighed, knowing the old man was right. "Does having a separate house mean he has a family?" Kwok asked, a hint of curiosity creeping in. The old man nodded and explained, "Yep. Abo has a single mother and 6 younger siblings. The one right below him, Yunbwa, is just 20 and already the deputy, head of the imperial household. Smart kid. All of his siblings are bright, and Abo's mom works day and night to support them." Kwok, somewhat taken aback, remarked, "Everyone's really pushing themselves hard, huh?" The old man eyed him with a grin and said, "Speaking of which, you're standing around too much." Kwok looked puzzled. "Huh? What do you mean?" With a swift motion, the old man tossed a set of cauldron lids to the ground in front of Kwok. "You've got 30 laps to run. Now get to it," Kwok protested. "But I've developed my skills. Haven't I already proven myself?" The old man chuckled mischievously. "In that case, make it 40 laps. Kwok, shaking his head, relented. All right, I'm going." Thus, Kwok's days of training at Gwageman Academy continued, with him swinging the cauldron lids from side to side, striking them against stone, enduring the grueling regimen. Day by day, he could feel his body growing stronger. One day, after finishing another round of training, Kwok sat down, feeling the energy flow within his dantian. Turning to his master, he said, "I can't believe it." The old man raised an eyebrow. "Can't believe what?" "The internal strength in my dantian. It's increased way more than I expected," Kwok replied, genuinely impressed. The old man gave a hearty laugh. "Of course it has. You've been training like a man possessed." Kwok, begrudgingly admitting defeat, said, "I guess this really is a great martial art." Whack! The old man smacked him on the head, making Kwok jump. Rubbing his head, Kwok asked, "What was that for?" The old man, eyes narrowing, growled, "You're part of the Gwageman Academy now, and you still talk like that." Kwok, embarrassed, mumbled, Okay, maybe that was a bit much." The old man reminisced. "At one point, this academy had over 10 students. More than 10. Kwok gasped in disbelief. "Yep, it was such a good time that even the strongest man in the world begged the 17th ancestor to teach him Gwageman directly. He showed off his skills in front of everyone and made the world take notice of Gwageman martial arts. Wow, that's incredible. So why is it like this now? Kwok asked, curiosity piqued. The old man sighed. It's a bit embarrassing. Kwok nodded, understanding. The master continued. But we still have ABO here. Isn't that enough to keep us going? Now stop messing around and run. He handed Kwok a cauldron lid. Ugh, there's never a day off. Kwok groaned. One day, while sweeping the front of the academy, a man came charging in, shouting for the master. It was Mr. Jang. Hey, where's the master? He demanded. Kwok replied, He's out. We got a big problem, Mr. Jang exclaimed. Kwok raised an eyebrow. What happened? Jang's voice was frantic as he shouted. Abo's about to be killed. Kwok felt a chill run down his spine. No, not now when the master's gone, he thought, bolting toward ABO. While racing through the city, he recalled the place Mr. Jang mentioned, somewhere nearby. As he neared a crowded bridge, Kwok's heart sank. There was ABO, injured, and standing a little ways off was his brother, with members of the Beck family surrounding them. Look who's here, Beck Kyung sneered, eyeing ABO. I thought he was just an idiot, but I see he's learned some martial arts. ABO, brimming with irritation, shot back. Don't you dare intimidate my brother. Kyung rolled her eyes. Why don't you just come along quietly? This isn't just about your little brother anymore. He messed with my warriors, and now he needs to be punished. And no, just take me instead. ABO stammered, desperation in his voice. My brother's innocent. He's a good sibling. You're such an idiot, Kyung replied. Let's go while I'm still in a good mood. If you make me waste more time, both of you will end up dead. She turned to her sub-chief, Jiun Bo, and said, Convince this fool of a brother to cooperate. I really don't want to show my rougher side. Couldn't you just take him instead? Abo's brother asked, eyes pleading. No way, ABO interjected. I have to take care of the house. I'm not letting that happen. His brother hissed, Stay quiet. This is my job. ABO shot back. No way. I'm his brother, and it's my duty to protect him. Everyone knows that those taken by the Beck family end up dead. Yeah, they torture and kill them, he added, anger surging through him. I can't let you end up like an idiot just like me. With frustration bubbling, ABO pleaded with his brother. You're smart. Don't be stupid. Beck Kyung sighed, clearly irritated. I didn't want to do this, but she gestured to her subordinates. Bring them here. We've got their mother and younger siblings captured after all. Push me any further, and I'll accuse your whole family of crimes right here, she warned, snapping her fingers. Tie them up. If they resist again, cut off the heads of their younger siblings. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the crowd. Stop! Kwok stepped forward, eyes blazing. That's enough. Kyung turned to him, a smirk on her face. Who are you? Do you really not remember me? Kwok asked, raising an eyebrow. She narrowed her eyes, trying to recall. When did we meet? Then she spotted the cauldron lid in his hand and asked, Are you part of some gang? Recognition dawned on her face. Wait a minute. You're that boy from the Warrior Dragon Academy. Do you remember me now? Kwok asked, determination lighting up his eyes. Beck Kyung laughed, shaking her head. Seeing you still hanging around, you must have gone a little crazy. Your older brother's in danger, and you want to help him? Seriously? Her laughter echoed, and soon everyone else joined in. From the Warrior Dragon Academy to the Cauldron Lid Academy, what a fall from grace. Kyung seized the moment, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Aren't you just a little resentful after I handed you that beating? Did you want her off to learn martial arts to get back at me? ABO and his brother exchanged glances, feeling a twinge of sympathy for Kwok. But deep down, Kwok knew he wasn't strong enough for revenge yet. His internal energy still needed work. Please, just let my older brother and family go, he begged. Why should I? She shot back, a wicked grin on her face. Lives like theirs mean nothing to me. You really think you can change my mind? Kwok felt desperation claw at him. I'm begging you. Irritated, Beck Kyung scoffed. What do you know about anything? I'm just annoyed I had to come to this stupid neighborhood in the first place. She turned to her subordinates, barking orders. What are you waiting for? Capture him. But then, a gust of wind swept past her. When she turned around, her men were sprawled on the ground, looking utterly shocked. Kwok stood there, cauldron lid raised, a fire in his eyes. So, what's your next move now? Beck Kyung's irritation flared. Have you lost your mind? Kwok felt a surge of adrenaline as he realized his body had moved before his brain caught up. There's no going back now, he thought, bracing himself for what was coming. Kyung was left speechless. What was it you said 3 years ago? He asked, pushing the memory to the forefront. What are you talking about? She replied, trying to keep her composure. You said you'd cut the tendons in my muscles and leave me without legs, Kwok recalled, his voice steady. Beck Kyung raised an eyebrow. That's exactly what I said. My uncle stopped me from doing it then, and I whacked him with a wooden sword. Why? You want me to do it now? Kwok replied, That's exactly it. She blinked, momentarily thrown off. Wait, what? You really think you can win? If you do, I'll leave. Laughter bubbled from her lips. You must be insane. But then she drew her sword, a fierce gleam in her eyes. Fine, I'll grant your wish. Just keep your promise, Kwok said, steeling himself. Don't worry, I always keep my promises, she replied, and then she charged at him with lightning speed. Kwok barely registered her movement before she was behind him, sword poised to strike. He felt the sharp edge slice through him, and a wave of disbelief hit him. Had he really been that weak? She began slashing at him, a flurry of blows coming from all angles. The gap is even larger than when I was at the Warrior Dragon Academy, he thought, panic rising in his chest. Kwok couldn't believe this was happening. After all that grueling training, how'd he ended up here? As Kyung sliced through his muscles, he tumbled to the ground, thoughts of defeat swirling in his mind. I'm sorry, Master, he murmured, feeling like a total failure. 15 days later, he blinked awake. Master, he called out, still groggy. Hey, you're awake, the old man exclaimed, relief flooding his voice. I thought you were going to sleep forever. What a huge relief. Kwok's heart raced as the master explained everything that had gone down after he passed out. First things first, you were taken to a doctor who patched up those nasty injuries and the muscle tendons Beck Kyung cut through, he said, shaking his head. As for ABO and his family, they were entrusted to Shimgi Bak, a buddy of Yunhwa's brother and a former disciple of the Yungnan sect. Of course, ABO wanted to stick around and take responsibility for your injuries, the old man chuckled, but I managed to convince him otherwise. Kwok nodded, still processing it all. And what about the Beck family? Driven by greed for power, they went up against the Zhongnale sects, the master explained. Now, those two sects aren't ones you can defeat with brute strength. But if you use financial muscle and pressure the right way, things change fast. He continued, Yunhwa, the head of the merchant group, suffered because of it. But once the elders of those two sects got wind of what was happening, the head of the Beck family had to bow down and ask for forgiveness, promising he wouldn't oppose any punishments they'd dish out. Kwok frowned, trying to process the whirlwind of events. Why are you apologizing, Master? With a heavy sigh, the old man explained, You see, you didn't have the ideal body for martial arts, and I was selfish. I got greedy when you showed me that stack of gold, and couldn't stop you when you wanted to learn. I thought I could mold you into something great, but instead, I only brought you trouble. I'm truly sorry, Kwok. Kwok shook his head, determination creeping back in. You don't need to apologize. I've always had a rocky relationship with that redhead. Even if you hadn't accepted me, I would have just found another academy. Besides, everything you taught me was more than just martial arts. I feel lucky to have met you in ABO. Tears brimmed in the master's eyes. Why are you crying? Kwok asked, a soft smile spreading across his face. Don't worry, my arms and legs are still here, and I can train again. Right, you're right, the old man agreed, wiping his tears away. We can do this over and over again. As Kwok thought about it all, realization struck him. He'd returned to the past. If that's the case, he mused, I just need to find that genius again. Kwok couldn't shake the determination buzzing inside him. As soon as he felt better, he'd chase after that genius and make those other wishes. It's too early to throw in the towel, he told himself, a fire igniting in his chest. Just you wait, genius. A whole year slipped by, and finally, Kwok's body was back to full strength. During that time, he and his master had their fair share of arguments, but somehow, they always managed to bond through it. Maybe that's what family felt like. The master introduced him to the psychic method, tapping into the supernatural power of the mind, something Kwok had never even touched before. Thanks to that, he bulked up his internal energy, and the day he'd meet the genius again loomed closer on the horizon. One day, the master furrowed his brow, clearly worried. You really want to travel alone? Yeah, Kwok confirmed. I'm just heading to my hometown. The old man sighed. I don't know how long I have left, but I can still look after you. Come on, stop it. Quack chuckled. You need money? This should be enough for you and my young, not to mention your relatives. The master shook his head, serious now. I'm not joking, Quack. I want you to join me. Quack noticed the glistening tears in his master's eyes. Taking a deep breath, he grasped the old man's hand. Listen, I got something in mind. Just trust me. Of course. How could I ever stop you? The master replied, a small smile creeping in. After calming him down, Quack set off for the village where he had found the magic lamp. As he strolled through the familiar village, everything looked the same as he remembered. I wonder if the genie remembers me, he mused. But if the genie did remember, according to the rules, no more wishes for him. On the flip side, if the genie had forgotten, well, that might just be his shot. Yet something felt off. He glanced around, frowning. Where's the lamp? It should be here by now. The frustration bubbled up, and he tugged at his hair, feeling a bit ridiculous. Just then, a group of merchants strolled by, but he brushed them off. Then, out of nowhere, he spotted it, the magic lamp lying on the ground. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Quack found himself in a cave, lamp in hand, heart racing. He summoned the genie, and poof, the genie popped out, asking if he was the one calling and ready to grant 3 wishes. Oh yeah, it's really you, Quack thought, excitement bubbling inside him. The genie, with a mischievous grin, called him master, leaving Quack flabbergasted. Wait, does he know I've returned to the past with my wish? He pondered, wondering if he could make wishes all over again. Had he gotten himself into trouble because of all that treasure? Are you really that rich? The genie asked, pointing at him, and Quack was left speechless. You'll have to try harder to give me that much wealth. The genie chuckled, and Quack breathed a sigh of relief when he heard he wouldn't ask for money in any of the wishes. Determined to keep this under wraps, Quack decided to play it cool, like they were meeting for the first time. He nodded along as the genie explained the ins and outs of wishes. Got it, Quack said with a grin, ready to make his first wish. The genie raised an eyebrow and reminded him to think carefully. After all, he could only make these wishes once in his life. No worries. I'm totally sure about this, Quack replied confidently. All right then, what's your wish? The genie asked, clearly intrigued. Quack took a deep breath, saying, I wish for talent. I want to be the most talented martial artist out there, with a perfect body for it. Easy peasy, the genie said, grinning. But what does a perfect martial arts body look like? Quack began to explain, but the genie waved him off, laughing. No need. I'm a genius. I can gather that info myself. Then, the genie vanished with a wink. Quack rolled his eyes, thinking typical. When the genie reappeared, he had a sheepish grin. Yeah, about that. Turns out, I can't grant that wish. Quack felt a twinge of disappointment, but shrugged it off. No biggie. I'll just wish for determination and endurance. Or maybe some willpower? The genie shook his head again, a glint of mischief in his eyes. No, those things are out of the question. From what I've seen, those monsters are just ridiculous. The great fairy genie, master of wishes, could grant any of Quack's desires, but oddly enough, he lacked the power to handle matters of the Murim and martial arts. Quack scratched his head, wondering how to navigate this. Then the genie piped up, but hey, if you want a strong body, I can definitely hook you up with the best body in the world. Sweet, I'm down for that, Quack replied, feeling a surge of optimism. Thanks a bunch. The genie waved a hand dismissively. No need for all that gratitude. Just know that when I grant your second wish, I'll be left with less power. But I'll still make sure it happens. Quack's mind raced as he thought about what he truly needed. Was it the secret to martial arts ascension? The glory of the heavens? Then, with a light bulb moment, he declared, I wish to have the ability to escape quickly from crisis situations. The genie raised an eyebrow, looking a bit puzzled. Escape quickly? What's that about? Quack explained. You know, with all those Murim monsters around, it doesn't matter how strong I get if I can't survive. The genie nodded, now deep in thought. That's a tricky request, but I can make it happen. Quack's eyes widened in surprise. Really? You can do that? Absolutely. Hold on tight. The genie grinned, and with a snap, they teleported to Africa. Quack looked around, bewildered. Wait, where are we? Welcome to Africa, the genie announced, gesturing grandly. It'd take about 5 to 6 years to walk here from the Central Plains. Want to take a look around? Is that an elephant? Quack exclaimed, spotting the majestic creature. Then he noticed lions lounging nearby. Whoa, I've only seen those in books. Impressed, the genie chuckled. That's the magic of teleportation. Quack's mind raced. So, this means I could escape from anything. Like I could head back to the Shaolin Temple, or chill at a volcano. Or you could visit the Ice Palace of the Sea, the demonic Celestial Church, or the Palace of Podalab. Like they're your own backyard, the genie added with a grin. Suddenly, the genie looked a bit perplexed. Wait a minute. Quack frowned. What's up? Why do you look like that? Is there a problem? The genie scratched his head. Well, this whole teleportation thing only works once. Annoyed, Quack shot back. You scoundrel, that's it for today's video. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment if you're up for next part of this manhwa.